Welcome to the next section of the course, which focuses on linking questions and effective conclusion questions. And I've chosen those two because the approach is very similar for the two questions, so they work well together. So let's start by asking ourselves, what is a link? Not the linking question, we'll look at the question in a moment, but just the word link, the verb. How do we link something? And the noun, what is a physical link? Well, simplest definition is that a link means to join something together or to connect something together. It can be 2, 3, 4, an infinite number of things. It's about connections and joins. I use this image to help me see what the SQA is asking me to do. This is 5 metal links. 4 of them are silver, 1 of them is red. The idea here is that if this were an SQA passage, an article, a text, it's made up of lots and lots of words, sentences and paragraphs. And a linked sentence, there may be more than one, but the SQA will ask you to focus in on one particular sentence for a linked sentence. That's why this link is in red. So there may be more in the passage, but you'll be asked to just look at one and look at one in detail. Now, by the end of this video, I'm hoping to show you that the link question is very straightforward. It's the same every year that it comes up. There's an approach to do it that will mean you'll get full marks every single time. Okay, so even if the linking question is something you're not too confident about at the moment, by the end of the next few videos, I think you're going to be super confident and you're going to get full marks, 2 out of 2, every single time you do a link question from now on. Now, here's another picture of a chain link, or chain links together, and I've used it to show basically what any passage in the world looks like. Now, don't try and read this passage, it's in Latin. I've deliberately chosen Latin, so we'll look at the structure and not try to read the words. So, any passage that the SQA gives you will be made out of words, sentences, and paragraphs. And they all link together. If you take one sentence, the words link together to make sense, so that the sentence has meaning. The paragraphs themselves, each one will normally hold an idea. There's 5 paragraphs in this passage. So in a normal passage, that would be 5 different ideas, 1 idea per paragraph, or maybe an introduction and 4 ideas in the 4 remaining paragraphs. But they link together. They're not bullet points. They don't kind of stand alone. There's some sort of link between them, or at least there should be if it's well written. Now, a link question looks a little bit like this. By referring to the sentence in lines 22 to 23, and then a quote of the sentence. Now, it's a shortened quote. Note the 3 dots in the middle of the quotation to show that the actual link sentence is longer than the quote. Explain how it helps to provide a link between the writer's ideas at this point in the passage. So, you've been asked to show that one sentence, now I've zoomed in here a bit, we're only looking at 3 paragraphs now. You've been asked to show how one sentence, and remember the SQA will tell you where to look. Look at this line, here's the quote, look at this sentence please. What they're basically doing is begging you, please don't look at any other sentence, we only want you to look at this one sentence. So you can highlight that yourself. You can grab a highlighter or just underline it in your prelim or in the exam. And you go, right, okay, now I know which sentence the SQA is asking me to look at. But how is this sentence a link sentence? I'm still not sure. Well, let me explain. A link sentence needs to be divided. Part of the sentence will talk about an idea that came earlier in the passage, towards the beginning of the passage or the paragraph before, and part of the sentence will link to an idea that's still to be explained or that hasn't yet been written about in the passage. So you must decide which part of the link sentence goes in which direction. One part will link back, one part will link forward. And you have to split the sentence. Another way to show this is with this picture here. If you imagine the young child in the middle is your link sentence that you found in the passage, part of the sentence links back to an idea earlier in the passage, so the adult with the black t-shirt, and part of the sentence links to the person with the light blue denim t-shirt. They link in different directions. You must, though, be more specific. You can't just say the girl links to both those adults. You must split it into sections. What part of the girl links back? What part of her links back to the earlier? Well, it's clearly her left arm. So her left arm, I'm being much more specific now, her left arm links back to the idea of the adult with the black t-shirt, and her right arm links to the idea of the adult with the brown trousers. Now, I'm using this analogy of the girl holding hands with the 2 adults so to help you get this idea of splitting the sentence. If you don't split the sentence and you just say, oh, the girl links to both parents or both adults there, you'll get 0. You must split the sentence. If you just leave it exactly as it is and quote it, you'll get 0. I need you to be really, really clear on that. You have to split the sentence and say, in this case, the vast majority of the sentence, the highlighted section in green on the left is the girl's left arm, the blue section is the girl's right arm, the child's right arm, and you can see that I'm being specific and saying this part of the sentence links that way to that idea, and this blue part links the other way forwards to the to another idea later in the passage. So you have to split the sentence. If you leave it like this, and if you just say, write out the link sentence and say the sentence links back. Let me grab my pen here. If you say something like the link sentence links back to here, to an idea here, and the link sentence links forward to an idea here, even though you've got the right idea, you'll get 0. Right? You'll get 0 because you didn't split the sentence. You must split it into 2 parts. Okay? Now, the split could be right at the beginning of the sentence, might be one word. It could be just this word links back, or that word might link forward. It might necessarily go in the same direction, but you have to split the sentence. So let's look at a proper worked example. Now, I've done up a worksheet for you guys here to download, so don't worry about trying to write all this down off the screen. It's all there on the worksheet for you. I'm just going to use a different version of it because I can highlight it more easily in Microsoft Word. Pardon me. Now, the question we have here, so it's the same passage as I've used before. I've just adapted it slightly and changed a link sentence. So here's the question. By referring to the question, I'll just highlight it in case you haven't seen it. By referring to the sentence on line 14, except it isn't, all the way up to into consideration, explain how it helps to provide a link between the writer's ideas at this point in the passage. And it's worth 2 marks, as we can see in the box. So my first job, I want you to kind of listen to my thought process as I go through answering this question, right? And you need to mimic my thought process when you're in the exam. My first job is to find that link sentence. So I go up here and I highlight it. Okay. And I'm just going to highlight that green to begin with. Say, right, I found my link sentence. And now I have to show how it provides a link between the writer's ideas at this point in the passage. Now, usually the link sentence will be the question, the linking sentence question will be, it won't be question 1, put it that way. So it'll be after you've read a bit of the passage. So you'll have a bit of an idea what's going on. So you've already read this passage because it's from an earlier section of the course. So you'll have an idea of what's going on already. Now, I have to look and see which phrases are linking in which direction. Now, I'm going to have a look at this word logical first. And as I scan through the text, so I have to read it quite carefully, my eyes get drawn to this paragraph here. And my eyes get further drawn to the end here, where it says, fear of flying starts to look quite rational besides some of the more unique phobias. So this passage was all about fear of flying, how safe airplanes are, things like that. So this word logical, I'm saying, is linking. Let me put in an arrow to help us here. Is linking to that idea of being rational. Okay, so let me make that a little bit bigger. Here you go. Okay, so that whole idea, that whole section there, is the idea that that part of the sentence is linking to. Now, the sentence then naturally splits. That word if splits the sentence into, except it isn't logical if you do the following, if you take the facts into consideration. So I'm going to highlight that in a light blue. And if I read on, the very next sentence is what it links to. Less than 1 flight per million. That's a fact. Flying is one of the safest forms of travel on the planet. That's a provable fact. This is primarily because the industry constantly invests in making flying safer and safer. Another fact. So if I insert another arrow here, just to show you the direction, we know then that we're going in this direction here for our blue section. And what I've done here, let me drag the arrow down a little bit, is I have split the linking sentence in 2. I've now decided in which direction the split sections go. So the green section links back to an idea earlier in the passage, and the blue section links forward to an idea later on in the same paragraph. How do I write that now in written form for my answer? Well, if I scan down to here, end of the worksheet, I've written the answer for you. Except it isn't logical, that's the bit that was in green. Looks back at lines 11 to 12, fear of flying starts to look quite rational. So what I'm doing really here is once I've made my split, I'm linking my quotations. What part of the passage is being linked to? And I then say the blue section of the link, if you take the facts into consideration, looks forward to lines 14 to 15. Less than one flight per million results in a crash. So we get that nice link in both directions. But it's very important to note, you can get the full 2 marks from this. Because you get 1 mark for saying, except it isn't logical, looks back. That's worth 1 mark right there. And you get the second mark for correctly identifying what idea it's linking to. Okay, and I would generally add in after here in my own words, just a short sentence saying what that quotation is about. The reason you do it in the second part of the sentence is to guarantee yourselves the marks. What if you made a mistake with the first one? So I choose my second part of the sentence, if you take the facts into consideration, and I say that looks forward to lines 14 to 15, and I quote one of the facts. So this fact here is linking to this fact here, less than one flight per million results in a crash, and I've shown a clear link. Be careful with the, pardon me for that, be careful with the links. They can be tricky sometimes. Sometimes the first part of the link will actually link forwards, and the second part will link back. Sometimes the links are much smaller. Sometimes it might just be that the first word, if I can highlight the section here and make that blue also, sometimes it might just be the first word links in one direction, all the rest of the sentence links in another direction. So take your time identifying the correct split. It won't necessarily be right in the middle. Sometimes the split might be in the middle. So it might be that, I've seen this in a prelim once, it was quite a tricky question, that the green sections, I'd have to copy that arrow, I think, copy, see if I can paste it in here, there we go. It might be that the green section is the beginning and end of the sentence and the middle section links back. So there's various ways it can link. But the most important thing to remember is to do the split. If you don't split the link sentence, if you just say, write down the whole sentence, then say that whole sentence links forward, the whole sentence links back, you're getting 0 straight away. And I'm really sorry, it's harsh, it's a bit cruel, but it's the way the SQA works their marking scheme. So split the sentence. Take your time finding the split, and then split it, and then carefully say which ways the sentences go. Now, we've looked at the directions. Make sure you do the split. You have to split it. If you don't, you'll end up with no marks. In the next section, now that I've kind of shown you how the sentence works, I would have a look at that worksheet in more detail, because I've gone through very quickly here in this video. Read the worksheet carefully. See if you can see the links yourself. And then in the next video, I'm going to set you up with another text with 3 linking questions, but I want you to attempt them before you move on to the video where I show you the answer. So in the next video, I'll show you quickly how to download that, and then give it a go. All right. And by the time you've practiced those 3 practice questions, I think you'll be really confident with the linking question, and we can move on to the effective conclusion. So I'll see you in the next video.